video series presented by Narendra from Do with Python Technologies. In this video, we are going to see how to use paramiko module of your Python to execute commands or command on your remote server. See, already we know paramiko is a Python third-party module and which is used to connect with your remote server so that you can execute some commands or you can transfer some files maybe from local to remote or from remote to local. Okay, all these things you can perform by using this paramiko module of your Python. And before going to use this, you should have some settings to use this paramiko. Okay, like configuration settings to use your paramiko. They are actually, see, suppose if you have some if you don't have paramiko on your local host, then first we need to install it. Of course, to use that paramiko, we should have that paramiko module on your host. That is okay. And then make sure that SSH service is up and running on your remote server. Suppose you are going to connect with some remote server. On that remote server, okay, there should be a SSH service is up and running. Then only you can able to communicate with that remote server using this paramiko from your local host. Okay, and one more thing, make sure password authentication is yes in your SSHD config file of your remote server. See, by default, password authentication is no in any SSHD config file, but you need to make it as yes. Okay, then get username. I mean, with what username and password you are going to connect, and apart from that, you need host name of that remote server. So simply in your hand, you should have username, password, and host name of your remote server. And on remote server, your SSHD service is up and running, and in your config file of your SSHD, there should be a enabled or password authentication is yes. Okay, suppose before going to work with this, we need this minimum requirement. Let me start with my server. Suppose I'm having this server. Let me connect with this. So if I connect with this, okay, so apart from this here, guys, you need to observe one more thing. This step is useful in your programming while writing your Python script with the help of paramiko. That is, suppose if you are going to connect very first time with your remote server, like your putty or suppose from your terminal, right? It is asking something, right? Are you sure you want to continue? Yes, right? You are adding this fingerprint, right? Okay, RSA fingerprint. Just I am giving yes. So through programmatic, you have to provide this step. Okay, I will show that. Okay, through programmatic, how you can provide this, I will show that. There is some one step is there. You have to include that. Okay, yes, I'm going to provide, suppose yes. Okay, and see here, system CTL, your status of SSHD service, yes, it is up and running. And observe one more thing, under SSH, right, you have SSHD config file. By default it is no. Just observe here, somewhere you will find that. Even you can search, yes, here it is no. So by default, password authentication no is enabled. Okay, now do one thing, just disable this. Just I am disabling that. And before that, you are having no, here you have password authentication, yes, it is by default it is disabled. Now I enable that by removing hash symbol, right? So now I enabled. So once if you modified any configuration settings of your SSHD service, okay, config file, you need to restart your service once. Okay, so I'm not the root user, but I am the EC2 user. But my EC2 user, you know, right, by default you are having sudo permissions for this EC2 user. So I'm using sudo systemctl restart SSHD. Now it is restarted. Okay, now settings are over. Even if you want to work with some different user other than EC2 user, yes, you can create one extra user and you can do. And one more thing, guys, we should have easy to user password, right? So let me set my password for this. Easy to user password. Okay, I updated my password for this EC2 user. Okay, now I have some password. Anyway, I will display that. And then I'm having a user called EC2 user, and I need IP address of this because I need to connect with this. No, so let me copy this is IP address. Okay, so let me open some notepad, and there first I will write my information. Suppose I'm taking user name equals to suppose EC2 hyphen user, and password I am taking simply PSW, PW or PD, no problem. Okay, PSSWD. Actually, I have this password for that EC2 server. Then I need, suppose instead of host name, suppose I'm taking so simply IP address. So I copied that. So this is the IP address. Okay, now I have requirements to use your paramiko for your remote server, right? I enabled password authentication as yes in your SSH config file. After that, I restarted my SSH service, and then I copied username, password, and host name, right? Okay, then next thing, whenever if you want to use this paramiko module, right? The first thing, suppose you need to import your module. After that, you need to create one object or one client instance first, or simply SSH client instance you have to create, so that using that SSH connectivity, SSH client, you can connect with your remote server. Okay, so to create your SSH client, you can take any variable name here. No need to take always SSH underscore client. You can take simply SSH or client or whatever the variable you want. You can take it. So for that, this is the very first syntax you have to use. So I am going to create SSH connectivity. To create your SSH connectivity, first I am going to create one client. Okay, so you know, right, client and server architecture, right? So first you should have to execute some commands, you should have some client. So now to execute commands on your remote server, first I need to create client, like command line only, right? So let me go to my, let me open one editor. I'm going to open my Sublime text editor, and I'm going to save it, suppose on desktop, remote command execution, py. Okay, so first try to import paramiko module. Okay, let me run this first so that I can see, yeah, I already installed that, that's why I'm not getting any exceptions. So I successfully imported that, right? Then I need to create some client, right? So let me take simply SSH or SSH client, no problem, you can take anything. So I am taking, for my understanding, SSH client is nothing but your paramiko dot SSH, see here, your client. So now you created one command line to execute commands on your remote server, through which you can execute, right? Then see, it's like SSH connectivity, no? Whenever if you're trying to connect with your remote server, no, through SSH, you are providing username and password and IP address, right? Same thing here. So I already somewhere copied username and password. Let me copy them directly here. So suppose I'm copying here my username, password, and IP address. Okay. Now you can go and connect with your remote server, and you can establish a connection. Okay, remote connection. So for that, you need to use your SSH client dot connect. First, connect with your remote server. Before going to execute some command, you need to connect with that, right? So to connect to that, you have to provide your host name. So our host name, suppose I'm taking our IP address, then username, right? So you have some username, and that username is stored in your variable called user underscore name. Let me give that variable. Then password. So password is already there in passwd variable, right? Now be clear, if I am going to run this, see what is the error you are going to get. See, SSH exception, right? Not found in known host, right? See, it's like no, whenever if you are trying to, whenever if you are trying to connect with your, let me go to my git bash here. Oh, our previous information gone. So I told no, there is something called yes option you have to provide whenever if you're trying to connect your remote server very first time. Well, you are providing first yes option, then after that you are entering into your remote terminal, right? It's like a finger adding fingerprint, right? So there you are providing yes option. If you go to starting of this video, there you can see something like whenever if you are trying to connect with your remote server, it is asking enter yes. Okay, so for that you need to add one step in your code. So for that, see here, so actually we are trying to connect with this, but it is giving an exception. So for that you need to set missing host key policy so that that server will come to known list. That's it. Okay, so actually you need to add this step before going to connect, right? So let me add that step before going to connect it with your remote server, right? So you have, right, you have your SSH client dot, right, set underscore missing host key policy, right? In this host key policy you have to write paramiko dot auto add policy so that your server will come to known list. That's it. Now I am going to run it. See, you are not getting an exception. That means now you connected successfully with your remote server, and that connection is established with this SSH client. Now whatever the terminal is created, no, that terminal is there with now with your SSH client variable. Now if you want to execute some commands on your remote server, you have to pass your command with the help of SSH client. Okay, suppose let me take my command is something like ls hyphen la, or let me take only lrt. Okay, and see, before that I'm going to create some file here on my remote server. That's some demo py. Nothing is there in that, just it is a file, right? See, so it is created something here, no? That's it. Zero size. November 4th we created. So this list I want to see under user home, right? Whatever the list is there, that list I want to see. Suppose what is the path here? This is the path, no? So under this, whatever the files are there, I want to see through my program. So this is your command. So take your command, complete command ls-lrt, then path as a string. Now you have to execute this with the help of your SSH client. Then how you can execute? See, while executing your command, right, you may have sometimes inputs to that command. So inputs is like, no, sometimes whenever if you are executing some commands, you will ask something like password, right? Sometimes whenever if you are executing with sudo, right, maybe it will ask password. That password you can pass to this input variable. Okay, so I am taking suppose std input and then std out. So you know, right, out will store into this variable, and if something goes wrong, then std error, that will go and come into this std error variable, right? Now then you have to write your SSH client, then dot execute your command. Whatever the command is there, no, that command is there with the help of this variable. I am placing that variable. If you want to place directly this entire command, instead of writing in 8th line, directly you can place that command in 8th line in place of cmd. Okay, now after running this, so once if you run your program, if 9th line is completed, then it may be output or error, they will come and store into your std out and std error respectively. Okay, now what I am doing is, that is like a one string, one file. Now I am doing std out reassigning with the help of stdout dot read lines. It's like a file. So I'm going to split them line by line, and I want to take as a list. Okay. Now I'm trying to print std out. Okay. Now for your clarity, okay, see, you can write some information right here. See, write creating SSH client, or simply client. Anyway, that is going to use SSH concept. Okay. Then I'm going to write one more line here, print. So please wait, connecting with remote server. Okay. Then after that, here no, you are executing your command. So just write some information. Please wait, executing command on remote server. That's it. Now here I can write print successfully executed command on a remote server. Right? See, here I am giving basic steps. Sometimes, right? See, while creating SSH client, you may get some exception. You need to take care. You need to handle them, right? So for that, you have some try and accept concept. You can use them. While going forward, I will use that. But as of now, for time being, just I'm giving simple information how to use your SSH connectivity to connect with your remote server with the help of paramiko, right? Let me run this and see the output. Please wait, right? Executing your command. See, now on your home EC2 home, you're having only one file demo.py, and you're getting suppose /n here, right? So that is the list. You don't bother about that. Now I'm going to create one more file here, touch new.py, pouch, yeah, new.py, right? Now run this program. Now you will see two files. See, one is your demo.py and one more is new.py, right? So this is the very simple way to run your commands on your remote server and fetching that output. Whatever the command you are going to run no, on your remote server, that output you are fetching to your local machine. Okay, so this is the best and effective way to run your commands on your remote server. And you're also be clear here, you're running and you're also getting your output. If there is an output for that command, then only you will get that output into your std out variable. If there is no output, suppose, then you won't get any output, right? Suppose you are going to create some file on your remote server, then it won't get, but response you can catch by including some variables. Okay. Okay guys, while going forward we will see each and every step. Okay, but anyway, this is very simple basic way how to execute your commands on your remote server. Not only executing commands on your remote server, I mean by using paramiko, you can also transfer your files, or you can copy some files from remote to local or from local to remote. Everything you can do with paramiko. So paramiko is the mostly useful Python module whenever if you don't have any tools. I see, suppose if you're going to use Ansible, then in Ansible you don't need to use this, no? Because Ansible is already enabled with SSH connectivity, so you are going to work with directly using Ansible. If you don't have any tools like Ansible or HPSA, right, Chef, Puppet, whatever it may be. Now to communicate with your remote server, not only with one server, you can include some for loops by taking all servers host names. You can include for loop so that you can connect with all servers. Okay. Okay guys, this is very simple info about your paramiko. Okay, now, okay, anyway, thank you for using this video, and do subscribe this channel to get more updates whenever you post some new videos. If you have any queries regarding this video, you can post as comments, or you can also drop a mail to this doitpython@gmail.com. Okay, bye.